July 9th, 2018. My name is Bill McCamley. I'm a state representative from Las Cruces and Mesilla here in New Mexico with your legislative update for the day. Last Friday, I had a meeting with the New Mexico Finance Authority Oversight Committee. That's our interim meeting that meets in between our general sessions to oversee a lot of the state finance work that goes on through that organization. The NMFA is basically one of our two state banks, and they work to provide some grants, but a lot of loans to cities, counties, school districts, all sorts of other entities throughout the state for various things. And there were three things that we talked about on Friday. The first off was tribal issues. We were in grants, and there's obviously a lot of Native American folks out there. There does seem to be some progress with money that's going through what is called the Tribal Infrastructure Fund. It is a separate pool of money that we set up to build water and wastewater facilities, roads, etc. on tribal land. These are some of the really most needy places in the state for this type of work. And in the past, there's been a lot of delay that's been happening with those funds, and that seems to be moving a bit faster. And that's probably because a few years ago, when New Mexico was in a financial crisis, we took all the money back for people that weren't spending their money, and I think the message seems to be getting through for not only these but other entities around the state. There are issues with loan programs, specifically with the Navajo Nation. Some of the Pueblo groups have decided that they're okay with giving up some of the sovereignty that they need for some of these loans for accountability reasons for the New Mexico public. But tribal sovereignty is a big issue in a lot of native places, and the Navajos have decided so far not to give up some of their rights to not have state agencies come and look at their books, because tribal sovereignty and the contracts that were signed with the United States government means a lot to them. In terms of economic development, there are two revolving loan funds that were set up through the New Mexico Finance Authority to help businesses that were looking for financing that maybe couldn't get it through some of the banks around. One of them is actually being moved to the Economic Development Department for hopefully a more comprehensive program through them. The other one is kind of a tough situation for a lot of technical reasons, but the long and short of it is New Mexico Constitution has a thing called the anti-donation clause. We can't give money away, and so when we give a loan, we have to be in equal standing with the banks that we're working with, and a lot of banks don't really like that because they basically aren't giving up any risk, and so we get a lot of the risky. That one ends up with a lot of risky projects, and of the four that are left, I think two of them are having problems. So I'm not sure if that fund is going to continue, but I do think it's really important, and we talked about this as well, that when the new governor comes in, they get everybody to the table, all of the NMFA folks, economic development folks, and the State Investment Council, who uses some of our a very small amount of our permanent fund money for startup venture capital funding, to get together so we can figure out how to grow jobs more. We also talked about broadband. This is actually a really good thing. So Continental Divide Electric Co-op decided a few years ago that the mainstream providers, so the cable companies, CenturyLink, who does phones, they weren't able to provide the high-speed broadband necessary in their community at a price that anybody could afford, so they really couldn't do it. And they said, we're going to do this as an electric co-op. Now remember, if you live in a rural community, a lot of times you're served by not like El Paso Electric or P&M, which are these for-profit monopolies, but by a co-op, an organization that's formed from all the customers in the area, and they decided we're going to provide broadband everywhere. And they worked with NMFA, New Mexico Finance Authority, through a program at the federal level called the New Market Tax Incentive Program, where they are able to get a much reduced rate on loans. And because they're a nonprofit, they can actually put in a lot of the broadband cheaper than the for-profits can, and it seems to be working. So the question is, can we take that model and then blueprint it out for the rest of the state? And I think that's going to be a really important thing to work on for the rest of the summer and the fall, so that maybe when a new administration and a new legislature gets in, they might be able to take some of those lessons learned. Because broadband development is one thing we hear we need everywhere. People need it to shop, they need it to start jobs, they need it for education purposes, and we have one of the slowest states to really put in high-speed broadband to a lot of places around the communities in the state. So as always, thanks for watching this. If you have questions, comments, or concerns on these or any of the issues, I'd love to hear from you, and hope everyone's having a great day. Bye.